Welcome to Fundamentals with Fungus. These videos are meant to familiarize you with basic Lorcana game concepts that you can apply when playing Constructed and Limited. It's meant to help deck building, gameplay, and your growth as a TCG player looking to level up and win more games. There'll be several videos in the series, so like and subscribe if you like this content. Today we're going to go over a concept critical to winning and losing games in Lorcana called tempo, also known as the pacing of the game. Throughout this video, we're going to go over some various expressions of tempo with gameplay clips and various examples to make you more proficient. Tempo is board presence, how well characters, locations, items, and other game objects line up against your opponents. Tempo is closely related to ink and lore totals. Tempo plays will often place pressure on lore while available ink or other resources are restricted, gaining advantage as a result. Coming out of the early turns, pressuring to win the game quickly before your opponent can play out their hand can cause forced plays or be leveraged into early game wins or advantageous positions. Having lots of cards in hand does no good if the game is already over in the early turns. Here we can see in this clips from the finals of the World Championship, TKP has 3 different 1-cost characters in play already on turn 2, and continues to go wide with these characters that quest for 2, put lots of pressure on his opponent, not allowing Edmund Chu to get to the later phase of the game where he can take advantage of stuff like Sisu and his bigger plays like Be Prepared. Here we can see in full effect the concept of ink being pressured and lore being pressured. While Edmund Chu would like to get to 5, 6, or 7 ink to be able to play his bigger plays, we see that TKP is operating on very low cards and very low ink, but lots of board presence. The next concept we're going to talk about is using your ink effectively, or what we call the curve. What we mean by this is that decks need to be built with the curve in mind. You are generally at an advantage if you can fully take advantage of your available ink every turn. And when deck building, too many high-cost cards can mean you can lose too much tempo in the early game, falling far behind, while too many low-cost cards can mean your cards may not have high enough impact to close out a game. When we refer to tempo decks, you'll often see decks like this come up. This is Dan Snyder's top 4 deck from the CCS 11K weekend, and a deck like this purple-green deck is looking to make a play on every single turn from 1 through 4, with cards enough to litter in between. As we see his number versus ink cost, we'll see that he has 14 1-drops, 12 2-drops, 21 3-drops, and then rounding down, going from 8 4-drops, 4 5-drops, and that 1 7-drop, which is really just a shift card for some of his lower cost cards. We'll see a lot of inkable cards in this deck, and really that's just so that we can have a play on curve every single turn and keep that momentum and place our opponents on the back foot with some of these high tempo plays such as Curse Merfolk, the Crab, and things like Elsa. In combination with board pressure, removal is a great way to press your advantage. In Lorcana, removal comes in the form of actions and songs. Dragonfire can be great when your opponent is playing 1 character per turn. Something like a Maui Half Shark being removed by Dragonfire is efficient. They're spending 5 to remove a 6-cost character. But Dragonfire won't look too impressive when your opponent is playing lots of cheap and efficient questers in the first 4 turns. Spending 5 to kill a Daisy Duck, or even spending 3 on something like Brawl to kill a Daisy Duck, is going to put you behind. One of the most unique aspects of Disney Lorcana is singing songs, playing a card by exerting a dry character of the song's cost or lower. This is another way that board pressure can be leveraged to maintain tempo advantage. A play like singing Let the Storm Rage On with Cinderella on a Diablo is tempo positive, exerting a 1-cost character to banish a 3-cost character. Plays like this allow you to gain more leverage and board advantage by not committing ink to removal. In this match, we have an example of this. Ed is playing Steel Song and is able to remove a character by exerting his 2 singers for 2 copies of Let the Storm Rage On, all the while pressuring the board using his ink on another Rhino. Songs do come with an opportunity cost. A Whole New World could be a great play when you sing it for free from a 3-cost character, but it also can be a liability when you don't have access to that 3-cost singer and have to spend 5 ink to let your opponent ready their ink with 7 new cards. Shifting is another way to gain tempo advantage from Disney Lorcana. It allows for certain cards to cheat on paying full cost if you have a card in play with the same name. Additionally, shifting on a character allows you to use that shifted character immediately if the original character was dry, gaining tempo in the form of board advantage in the process. Here we can see Mo is playing a deck featuring Diablo. Diablo has a shift line where he is able to discard an action card instead of paying its shift cost. We trade card advantage for board advantage, gaining tempo in the process. Of course, those tempo shifts potentially come at an opportunity cost. Is the potential to shift a big character into play early worth diluting your deck with having narrow cards? Shifting can also come at the cost of card advantage. Spending 2 cards for just one character can be a liability if it doesn't put you far enough ahead. There is also the variance of a factor of drawing one character without the other. If both characters are not powerful on their own, run the risk of having dead cards at times. The last thing we're going to discuss in this video is the concept of tempo versus card advantage. Tempo is often at odds with the idea of card advantage, which is the idea of having more cards than your opponent. But sometimes tempo can actually lead to card advantage. Sometimes an advantageous lore count and board state leads to forcing trades that you wouldn't otherwise make. In this video, we'll see that Mo is up against the ropes in a situation where Zach is at 18 lore and is threatening to go to 20 over the next couple of turns. This is a great example of how tempo can create card advantage in situations where you are forced to trade suboptimally just to stay in the game. In this situation, you'll see he trades his Prince John and his Elsa just to try to stay alive in this game. We touched on card advantage a couple of different times throughout this video. Card advantage will be covered in a lot more detail in another edition of Fundamentals of Fungus. If you do like content like this, make sure you like and subscribe, and let me know what you think of this sort of deep dive on just fundamentals and talking through concepts.